Charlie. Last week when I left you guys, I asked you guys to go into TubeBoob, if you have access to TubeBoob, and to play around with the posing that I talked about and create something that looks like this: a short timeline with a starting pose, an antic, an overshoot, and a settle. Okay? So we should be looking at that if we're starting today. So if you're going to work along with me, this is what we're looking to have, okay? So what I like to do is I turn on my motion tweeting. So I hit Control L. Nope, Control K, Control K. That turns on my motion tweeting. When I did that, I had to have these first, oh shit. I have these first 3 keyframes highlighted. Then I hit Control K and it turns on my motion tweeting. Then I like to take a look, see what I'm dealing with. Oh my God, it's beautiful. So you'll see it's animating, and you get the sense of what's happening. The character's punching. There's no real impact to it. The character has no arcs. The character's timing is very even. And then there's like weird things happening. The feet are popping and turning here on this leg. Really, that's really the only thing that's really weird that's happening. The character's leg is sliding across, which, it's possible, I guess. But I think it would probably look better with a step. So those are the kind of things I'm going to be looking at, and I'm going to be adjusting and fixing as we go. The other thing that's happening is that this animation is on ones, which means there is a motion happening on every frame of the timeline. In 2D animation, we like working on 2s, so every other frame will end up being animated. There are examples of 2D shows animated on 1s. This is not a hard and fast rule. Generally, low animation in 2D animation is on 2s, generally. So I want to think about my timing, and I want to think about how I want my character to move. My character's punching. So I want the punch to feel impactful. So I want most of the motion here to be hidden. I want to have the character coming out of this antic slowly, and then bang into the punch. Slow bang into the punch. That's how we see fierce attacks in Street Fighter, which is how all real life is. So that's what we're going to do too. So slow coming out of the antic, and then bang. With the overshoot settle, generally you want your settle to favor the settle. So you want the timing to favor the settle. So that means that it's going to get slower, and the spacing will get closer as we get closer to this final pose. And the spacing on this pose will be further apart than it will be towards the end. So we're favoring the settle. We're favoring this pose. So when I say I'm favoring this pose, it means more of the spacing is tighter towards this pose, and then looser as it's towards this pose. So that's what favoring means. You could also say, I'm going to do a slow in to this pose. So my motion is going to go slower as I get closer to this pose. So slow in or favoring. On here, I want to pop out of this antic. So that I would be favoring this pose in this example, and I would be slow outing. So I would have a slow out of this pose. So more poses would be at the beginning here. More of the spacing would be tighter towards the beginning of this, and then bang! For this antic, generally when I do antics, I like to slow into my antic. So what that ends up doing is it feels like I have this start pose that I'm really enjoying my time in the antic. I'm having a whole dinner here. Going in, booking a reservation, spending a good 2 hours with my antic. Letting my food settle, settling up my bill at a leisurely pace, and then bang! Okay? So I'm going to slow into my antic, and when I slow out of my antic, it means I'm going to feel like I'm spending a lot of time with this antic. And then I'm going to pop into this pose. When I pop into this pose, you'll notice that one of the big major problems here is that my leg is disappearing. I'm going to be able to hide a lot of the chunky elements of animation in my movement. So if my character is moving from A to B and there's like an awkward bit of animation that's going to be there, I'm going to generally try to hide that within a big movement. Here, it's going to be the leg flipping from left to right. But if my character was turning his head right to left, I would generally try to pair a head turn with a movement as well. Because when I'm using a symbol or a flat object like in 2D animation, there's no way to gracefully do a head turn, really, unless you're individually animating each frame and painfully making it work. In Toon Boom, we have these flat objects that we can skew and twist around to get good results. But generally, we want to hide the movement, hide the big transition. So that's what I'm thinking moving into this animation. All right, let's just get the big part out of the way first. So what I want to do is I want to click on this tween. Okay, maybe I'll make this a bit bigger for you guys. Oh, it looks terrible when you do it like that, though. I guess it's easier for you guys to see, which is important. Antic, overshoot, settle. So I'm on my antic pose. I want to come slowly out of this pose into my overshoot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the keyframe. I want to make sure the keyframe is highlighted. And then I go to the Set Ease In, Ease Out Parameters button. I'm going to show you guys how to time with the ease in, ease. Oh, look at this. My timing is already adjusted. I thought it looked funny. I must have adjusted this last week, eh? Okay. So I'm going to hit the ease in, ease out parameter button. I want my character to slowly come out of the punch. So I'm going to be adjusting the timing to the right of my keyframe. So I'm going to be, this is what this is telling you. So I'm on frame 17. This is the next keyframe, this white dot up here, and it's on frame 23. You can see the spacing between each of these keys, or every other frame on here, is evenly spaced. That means my timing is completely even. I get this straight line. It's illustrating that my timing is completely even. So I'm going to make it slowly come out of here. Let's do 75, apply, and I get this beautiful curve here. So let's close it, see what it looks like. Boop. Yeah, so I'm popping out. So that looks good. And that is how it looked like previously, but anyways. So what I want to do now is that I have this timing, and I've adjusted the timing again in the ease in parameters right time ratio. I've adjusted it to 75. What you can see is that the space between 17 and 19, the amount of movement between 17 and 19 is quite small. And then from 19 to 21, there's a bigger chunk of movement, right? But then more than half of the movement is happening between 21 and 23. So that's how I'm adjusting my timing. And if I turn on the onion skin, you can see that in the onion skin. Close, close-ish, closier, not as close. Oh man, we're quite far away. And oh my lord, you're on a different continent. Okay? So we're adjusting the timing, and we're getting tighter timing at the beginning and then further apart timing towards the end. Okay? I'm going to go through this with each of these keys, so I'll be repeating this pattern over and over again. So what I like to do now is every other timing, I'm pretty happy with the timing that it's given me, but now I have to adjust this shiz. So I'm going to hit F6. So there's my key. 2 frames before I'm going to hit F6. Then 2 frames before, I'm going to hit F6. On my first key, which is the antic, I'm going to hit Command L and turn off the tweeting. So now I have these 2 keys. I like to move them beside each other when I'm animating them to get the shit, let's go back in time. Back in life, back in reality. Okay, so I'm going to this key. One thing that you can do that makes a lot of sense, actually, is to fix up this drawing a little bit before keying this drawing. Because if you fix up this drawing mostly here, then this key will be acting based on the changes you made to this key. So the key that you are eventually in the future going to add here will be adapting to what you have changed already on this frame. So I know I'm popping into this pose, so I'm favoring this antic pose, even on this pose, which is so close to my final pose. So this leg, which is busted up, all cranky, I'm going to select the leg when it's not busted up on frame 18, 17. Frame 17? Yeah, frame 17. Going to select it, the whole leg. Go ahead, hit Command C. And I'm going to go all the way up to this red frame. If I have just this leg selected and I move forward with the arrows, it stays selected. Now I hit Command V. And it just pastes that perfect leg into where that shit leg was. Okay? You can see it's still animating across the stage because there's other pegs that it is following. So it is on the larger leg deformer peg, which is sliding it across the screen still. That's fine. Things I'm tracking at this point, I want to have an arc here, right? So I'm looking at this head, body here, the words. And you can see the arc on my character here is horrible. Straight across. So I want to manipulate that arc. So make sure your bone is on, your deformer bone. It's this OX up here. You want to move, whenever you move the body, you want to make sure you have the deformer on. So I turn the deformer on, and now I can see the bone. So I'm going to move this bone. And I'm going to start to ease into this pose a bit here. And I'll let the machine do a bit of the work for me here. This leg goes there. And I'm going to have the character step up. So again, this isn't exactly how it's going to end up. But if I do these like rough job here, this little rough job here, what this is going to do is it's going to make me a bit easier for me on the previous tween, because the previous tween will have this work done and it'll be trying to find the midpoint for me between my antic and this pose now. So all of a sudden that animation looks smoother, right? So when I moved it, that tweener stayed on there, so I got to turn that off. So there you go. So that'll look better. So now my timing is still in effect here. If I click on it, you'll see it says 41.1 because now it is moving at that slower pace into the next key, which is frame 19. So at that point, it is at a right time ratio of 41, even though I had set up at 75 before. So this partial part is just 41, is what it's saying to you. I now add that other key. Now what I want to do with these is I want to move these right beside each other. And this is just something I do because I am not smart. I like to be able to go between my frames very quickly with the arrow and the timeline so they're right beside each other. If I make a change off of the keyframe, like I move my character here, it's going to put a red dot there. But when I open it up, you'll see it's not really a red dot. When you have a red dot or a keyframe, there should be a red dot along all these parts of the timeline. But I'm only getting a red dot on the main peg here. It hasn't put keys on the rest of this line here. So I find when I'm animating and I don't have them right beside each other and I'm making lots of changes, I'm more prone to make mistakes on the off frame, which is not where I want to have any of my motion happening. So this is why I move them beside each other on the keyframe when I'm doing a lot of tweaks. I know I'm going to be doing a lot of tweaks, so I'm going to be moving between these frames pretty often. So this makes it easier for me. So I did a lot of the work already by adjusting. Things that I have to make sure are staying strong because I'm in 2D animation. And I have to make sure that my feet are staying planted. Okay. Okay. So you can see here my toe is coming off the toe position there. I'm just going to make my leg look a little wonky. Let's get that toe locked into spot. Okay. Now when I do that, because it's all pegged, of course, the hip is now breaking out of its normal position. So what I want to do is I want to turn that off and I want to track where the hip is. It's moving a little bit, but it's not moving so bad. It's moving pretty good, actually. This leg is stepping forward. When a leg steps forward, I could have this foot trailing a little bit. Whoa, not like that, boy. Maybe a bit more like that. Ah, it doesn't look like it's stepping up anymore. Get a little bit of movement in this thigh. That looks a bit better. We can see the beginning of movement here. This is something called a tangent, okay, right here. You see how the line of the back goes right into the line of the arm? That is called a tangent, and it confuses the mind to where the arm is. It makes the arm part of the body, which is screwed up. So we always want to correct tangents. So even moving it off a little bit, it's no longer locked onto that line. I'm going to get better results. See how tight the arm's staying here? I want to get a bit of an arc out of this arm here. I'm going to cheat the arm a bit. I'm going to get a bit of drag on the hand here. Snap and drag secondary. You guys know that term? Do you guys know what secondary and snap and drag is? Oh my. Okay. Secondary is movements caused by the movement of your body. So the primary movement, I guess, you know, if these are secondary movements, the first movement is the movement that is caused by your primary movement, which is in this case punching forward. So my character is stepping forward and punching. If my character had hair, the secondary motion or the snap and drag that I would have would be on the character's hair. So the character's hair would stay still. Then as the head moves, the hair would react to the movement on the head after the head moves. And as the head stops, the hair would be being pulled behind the head as it stops. And then the next frame, as the head is settling, the hair would be snapping forward and then following behind the body and then settling to a stop. Shirts, belts, hands. We can do it with hands. I'm going to be doing it a little bit with hands here. You get nice secondary movement on the hands. All right. Does that make sense? Does my explanation of what secondary, does that make sense? Daniel, do you mean with the motion tweening? Do you mean with these black lines? So ultimately, Dan, I want to have them separated. But to get there, I want to have a motion tween on. So I go to my keys, and they should look like this initially when you start. You click on your keyframe, and you hit Command A. Okay? And that's going to turn on your motion tweener, which is going to make your characters move from pose A to pose B. To turn it off, you hit Command L. Conversely, if you are someone who doesn't believe in doing things in a timely manner, you can right click every single time and you can go to set stop motion keyframe. And oh, what? Set motion keyframe. Sorry, set motion keyframe. And what will happen is it'll turn it on. And then when you want to turn it off, you can go to set stop motion keyframe. And that'll turn it off. Okay. Is that what you meant, Daniel? So I'm trying to get a little bit of snap and drag here. So when my character's arm is moving very fast, think about when cool guys would like make their fingers snap, like they whip their hand down and then their fingers snap beside them in them. Ah, shit, that's a bad example. Anyways, I'm trying to get a bit of that kind of quick movement. So as the hand is moving fast, when the arm is moving fast, it feels like the hand is dragging behind it. I don't have any clothes or anything here to make my character look like he has secondary. So this is just going to kind of add a bit of drag to the arm, and it's going to make the arm look like it's going fast. Everything's a fake in animation, right? Like nothing is actually moving. Everything's the illusion of life, as some famous animators said. So you're trying to trick the eye into seeing what you want it to see. Okay, so I'm just tweaking these poses to get to where I want to get to. So now let's look at my arc. I don't think my arc is working super well yet, so I want to make that arc a bit better. Yeah, so you can see my character's body is still going flat between these two poses and then down. So the arc is beginning to work a little bit, but I want to make it a bit more intense. So let's move that up. I'm going to have to adjust the legs afterwards to get this to work now. Yeah, so that's a little nicer. And what you will notice is what I've done now is I've screwed up my, should have done that before I adjusted my legs. Want to get your arcs working before you adjust your legs, because now I have to adjust the legs again. So it's just coming off the hips slightly now. I can probably just skew this. So by skewing it, what I do is I grab the leg, and if I want to skew it, I grab the whole leg. It'll be selected in this box, and I can skew it by just skewing it. I get this like left to right line on the bottom of my bounding box, and I can move it like this or like this. But it's all based on where this pivot point is, this purple pivot point. So I want to move the leg to adjust to the hip properly, but I don't want to have to screw with the positions of all the limbs again. So I just want to skew it from the toe. I want the foot to stay locked where it was, but I just want to move it a little bit. And if I move it towards the toe, then I can move the top part of the leg more efficiently. So that's a bit more locked into where it was before. And you can see it's coming off the hip again. You can see I want it in that area when it ends. So this is coming way off. So again, I'm grabbing the pivot point, moving it to the bottom of that toe, and I'm moving it into the body a little bit. Now, I do think with this one, because the foot is beginning to turn here, I can probably move this whole leg a bit more. Because if I want to skew this foot, it'll help sell the movement of this. Oh man, maybe shouldn't even have it step up that much. But what I'm doing is I'm skewing the foot to make it look as if it's turning in this movement. Let's turn off this forward. I mean, it's confusing me a bit. There we go. So that looks pretty good. But now my knee is my limb has come off the line a bit. So now I'll skew it from here. And again, I'm hiding the big change from this leg build to this in that big part of the movement, right? So there's this frame, and then I pop into this frame. And that's where all my movement is happening. Like, that's where the big action of the punch is happening. And we don't even see it, okay? We don't even see that big part of the action. So this is a big difference between 2D and 3D, where in 3D, the computer is showing all the movements all the time, and you can adjust the timing, but it's a bit harder to choose what is being shown. Here, the whole gig is choosing what you're showing. Okay? So a lot of animators show too much, and then their timing doesn't feel impactful. Often in 2D, we're hiding the biggest part of the movement. So it's like the character will be doing, like, imagine Batman attacking all these goons, and he's like doing like a crazy spin move. You know, a spin move might sound super complicated, but how can you draw that spin move with just like two poses and show those two poses in such a way that it sells a spin move, but you're not actually animating an entire spin move? That's the trick in 2D animation, is like knowing what to show and what not to show. So here I need to have that timing that's coming off, and then bang, impact. So he's not moving that far, and then bang. The big part of the motion is being hidden. And then he's recovering from it. So I think that works decent. I want to belabor the point. Yeah, that works decent. So now that I have those two working, I'm going to move these keys back into position. They're on every other frame. And that's the method I just review and redo over and over again as I go through this. So let's take a look at it now. So you get a better sense of it now. So the character is stepping up and down. Bang. I do think now, having seen it, I could probably get my character to go a bit lower on my overshoot to really sell it. So maybe my character comes a bit lower on this punch. Oh. Something like that. I'll make my whole character come down harder, which will make the impact feel stronger. So again, the big thing with 2D, I'm always trying to lock these feet, make sure that the foot is going where it's supposed to go. Pardon me. Okay, then this leg will come down further too. Turn that off. Yeah, so that's way more impactful. This down a bit more. I could stretch this out just a little bit more to play with that a bit more. Yeah, so that's a harder impact. Oh, shit. So again, I just move these across. 2, 1, 2. I'm often moving these keyframes. I know where they go, but I often move those around. Again, I want to have a slow into this final pose. So he hits, and it's going to stick there for a second before it settles into this pose. So this case, I'm clicking on this final key, I'm going to the ease in, ease out parameters button, and I'm using the left time ratio this time. So let's do a 50 and apply. And we'll see the timing is becoming closer to 29 there. I think we can go, well, let's take a look at what it looks like. Actually, I'm having him ease into the final pose, so it feels like he's sticking on the final pose longer. I wonder, should I have it the other way around? So let's put that back to 0. We'll go to the previous. And so I can click previous and go to apply next, and it'll move me to the next keyframe. So I just went to the back one. So I'm going to apply the same timing here, but now on the other side, so you see what happens. So now it's going to make me favor the previous drawing, 33. So it'll feel like I'm sticking in this last pose now. So the timing will stay there a bit longer and then settle quicker. Yeah, that might actually feel a little bit better. The one thing about that is that when you skew your drawings or skew them like I did, like stretching his arm a bit, it makes that a bit more obvious, which is a bit problematic. But I think it's going to work out fine. So I'm going to use that timing, Command L. And again, I'm going to move these two drawings over. And I'm just going to go through them to make them adjust well. Okay. So this is the primary drawing in my arc. You know what? I should probably fix this drawing first. Timing looks pretty even, actually, doesn't it? Huh. That's funny. Those poses look even. Let's try that again. Command L, Command K. Ease in, ease out parameters. 75. Okay, so I'm really favoring that first drawing now. So let's see what that looks like. Still looks even. Why is it not working? Did I just close it or did I not apply it? Maybe that's what happened. Oh, I didn't apply it. That's fuck me. I'm not very clever, am I? Apply. Close. There we go. Jeez Louise. Make sure you hit apply, otherwise you look like a real dunce. Okay, that actually looks terrible. So let's try that again and do 50. Apply, close. Yeah, I prefer it going easing into the final pose. So I'm going to go 0 there, apply next, and then I'm going to go to left time ratio 50, apply, close. Let's take a look at that. I think that could even be more extreme. Boom. Okay. All right, that's fine. Let's not overdo it. Okay. And this one, I'm going to have less work to do. I'm just going to be manipulating this arc a little bit here, which I didn't have to do too much of in the previous version, but this one I'll just have to do it a little bit. So you see the arc is very flat again. I'm always trying to correct arcs, make them feel a little smoother, a little rounder. So I'm just going to give that a little bit of juice here. And you see, so it pops up here and then goes very flat back in. So now I have to correct it here as well. And sometimes I adjust the timing just a bit more to get a slightly more nuanced. So it wouldn't be 75 exactly, but that's okay. So that feels like he's smoothly coming in now. Boom. Boom. And then I look at my hips to see if they're breaking. And you can see, you watch this line here between here and here. This is kind of my spot. I'm watching the hips there. So this is his final position, the overshoot position, and into his settle position. We shouldn't be seeing much movement in the hips here. So you see, it is dancing, right? It's dancing on his hip bone. That's the kind of shit that your director is going to go and go, hey, Brian, are you a pro or are you a schmo? And then you have to redo it. Okay? So make sure you're keeping those locked. In this case, I think the easiest way to fix it is on the final key. Whoop. Let's see. You know what? I'm having it pop too far forward, so I shouldn't. I think this final key is the, you know what? It was when I adjusted it. So when I adjusted it to make it go deeper, I didn't adjust this back, and now it's looking a little wonky. You want to have this stuff nailed down before you animate it, because now it's going to look wonky, and this is going to turn into a bit of a headache. Yeah, I fucked it up. Okay, so that one has to come up. You bugger. That's probably okay. It's not perfect, that's for sure. It's popping there, but it is coming down, so it's probably okay. And skew it just a little bit. Oh, there you go. I'm a genius. Worked. But, and I have this little bit of snap and drag on the arms that I did on the big part of the movement. And I have to sell it just a little bit here. So it's like we see the hand dragging back and then popping forward. So it should be a little bit back here as well. Not much, it's just a little bit. That. And then on the next frame, oh, see what I did? That's what I'm talking about right there. You don't want to do that. And then it pops back up. And I'll just have it skew up a little bit here. And that settles down. See if that reads it all. Not really. Boom. That's settling too quick. So I think this arm, we're going to give that a bit more drag. And fix that connection. Yeah, so sometimes when you use the auto tweener, it makes everything move at the same timing. And sometimes you want some things to have slightly different timing. like these arms, I want them to settle slightly slower than the rest of the build. That looks better. It looks quite choppy on your end, it looks like to me, but on mine it's looking pretty smooth. Boom. 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 I think maybe this should swing out just a little bit. Boop. Boop. Okay. Okay, and then the last piece of the motion, I want my character to ease into this antic, like I was saying earlier. So again, I'm going to go to ease time parameters. I'm manipulating the timeline to the left of the keyframe here. So I'm going to use 50 and apply. Now you can see the distance between 17 and 15 is quite small. 15 and 13 is quite a bit bigger, and then 13 and 11 is quite large indeed. So now close. This is the one I should have the least work to do because he's just settling into this pose. You see, small amount of space here and a bigger amount of space between these two poses, so it's working. So let's hit F6, F6. Okay, Command L. There's not much of an arc going on there. Let's see if there's a quick way to fix that. So if I'm just looking at these keys here, you can see it's a straight line coming down here. So I just want to manipulate that a bit and pull it out just a little bit. This is another one that I could mess up quite easily, so I got to be a bit careful. I don't want it to be too pronounced. I just want a little bit of an arc. Yeah, and you can see it popping in now. So now I just got to pull this one back out in reaction to that. And it'll feel like the character's head is coming down into that spot a bit more evenly. Yeah, so it's easing in, it is easing in, but there's an arc coming in now. So it's coming down like that into the settle spot instead of just like that, right? So those little arcs on the head is kind of what you're looking for. And then your secondary arc is the butt. And then generally you want the arms to go like that. But the auto tweener actually usually does a pretty good job of the arms. And the arms have a bit of independence to them itself as well because they're. But you could watch for secondary arcs and shite. Decide if you want them or not on the arm. Like you can see it is going straight down. So you could have the arm coming out and get a bit more of an arc with it coming down too. But I'm not sure that that is actually going to do much for you here. But in that case, this is what that would look like. So yeah, it actually does look a bit softer. So the arm's on a bit of an arc coming down. You could put a little bit of drag there on that thing. So again, just skewing these arms. Come on now. Oh, Lord. My this is becoming a real issue with this program is that my drivers are not working. For drawing or for dragging. So I have to use both my mouse and my stylus, which is not. I'm creating, breaking the arm a bit here, but it's in the big part of the movement, so I don't think you'll notice it during animation. But yeah, I am happy I did that little bit of smoothing on that arc on that back arm, bark arm. I think that looks better. So there you go. That would be it. I am making a lot of noisy, gross noises over here, Val, so I understand why you would think that. I hope my noises aren't too nasty. I hope I haven't been snorting up boogies, breathing them in like a gross man. Okay, I don't know what this poll was for. I can't remember. What was I going to ask? Okay, does the ease in, ease out parameters make sense to you guys? Okay, so I got pretty good results there. If you don't understand the ease in, ease in out parameters thing, the big thing is to, let's see here. When you're tweeting, you want to have your tweeting on, so Command K. You want to choose which pose you want to favor. You go to that pose that you want to favor. You hit this ease in parameter, and then I'd be adjusting it to the left of the keyframe I'm on. So the keyframe I have highlighted, the timing chart is to the left time ratio. The number I put in decides the amount of favoring I have towards that key pose. Then I hit apply. And you'll see now I'm showing close. And now I'm seeing more of the punch here. If I am not explaining it correctly, I do suggest you play around with it and see what you can do. And I am always available via, I was going to say text, but I'm definitely not available via text to you guys. I'm available via email, and you can shoot me a question I'm happy to answer. I'm going to turn off my screen share. Is there anything specific that you guys would like me to touch on before I let you guys go? Another poll. Is there anything you guys would like me to touch on before I get out of here? So the assignment's due next week. This is exactly what your final will look like. It'll be a antic and overshoot, a settle. Starting pose, antic, overshoot, settle. That's all it's expected to be on. Remember to have it on twos, so your timeline should look like this. Often people will put it on twos and then still leave their auto tweeting on, so it'll look like that. This is on ones. Okay. It looks smoother. Some people think that that's better. Some shows are animated like that, but most aren't. When you're done this scene, you go to File, you go to Export Movie. Then you wait a very long time. Still waiting. Still waiting. Still waiting. Oh my God. Anyways, eventually it'll let me export a movie, and it's quite easy to do. I think you guys are going to be in. Oh, here we go. Look. Okay. It's going to ask you where you want it to go. Mine says documents. That's fine. Export range 1 to 34. It's automatically going to select the full range of your movie. That's fine. Same as scene resolution. That is fine. Hit OK. Zaid, you're going to hand in the movie file. I do not want your Toon Beam stage. I don't ever want to see your Toon Beam stage. I just want your movie file every time. Okay, guys? I'm going to end my presentation. I'm going to share my screen so you can see me struggling to breathe. Oh, wait, no, I'm not doing that. What have I done? Oh, my gosh. Okay, cool. Okay, so if my arm is behind, oh shit, I've got it wrong. My body, so if my arm is behind my body, that I want to move it forward. Often your character is going to have limbs pop in front or pop behind. So it is Alt and the up and down arrow. So my arm is behind. I want it in front of the head. Alt. I have the arm selected. Alt, down, down. And it moves it through the body pieces to get to the front where all the action is. So Kaylin, trying to figure this out now. I can't remember where it is. I haven't actually used this in a while. I'm trying to remember how to do it, but it's pass-through layer right here as bitmap. Pass through. So what you want to do, Kaylin, is it an arm or what is it? Is it an arm or a leg or what? Yeah. So you want to have the arm selected here, and you click on, oh shit, no, it's not that one. You click on the composite bar here, and you click on this white bin, yellow box, and you'll see mode. It's usually as bitmap, but what you want it as pass-through. And pass-through lets you move your limb through the objects. Sometimes that's not turned on. So where you want to go, Kaylin, you go to node view. Do you have this window open, this node view window? And you find the arm selector. Pardon me. I thought you could do it on the individual drawing too. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen? Oh my, Mia, thank you. Just talking into the wind. Turn off my camera. I look terrible today. Okay, so Kaylin, what you want is you want to have your node view open. So this is your node view. It looks like a big flow chart kind of thing, like so. Okay. So when you click on your arm, Mia, so or not Mia, Kaylin. So since I didn't have my screen shared at the time, so you click on the arm, you're clicking on the whole arm. You have Alt, you hold down Alt and then it's down and up. You can see how it's popping through the body. Okay. Now, sometimes parts of the object aren't set to pass through, which means that it won't be able to go through parts of the body like it should. So first, what you want to do is you want to check on your arm and see maybe it's my arm that's screwy. Ah, I've lost my arm, you fool. You fool of a toque. Yeah, this is my arm here. So I'll click on the composite bar down here. Click on this one, the yellow square. And then I go to mode, and you'll see mine's at pass-through. Yours might be at bitmap. What I want to do is I want to click on that, and I go to pass-through. And I hit close. So that still doesn't work. Then you find the other limbs you want to pass through. So in this case, the body. I go to the composite bar for that. Pass through. Close. And the head is also in there. So now all of them should be able to pass through. As you can see, okay. All right, Kaylin, did that work? Kaylin's gone. Kaylin. All right. Is there any other questions?